Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for yet more dedicated legacy action. Today we're going to be playing a bit of elves again. As you can see, this deck has got a lot of 1-drops. The aim of the game with this particular build of elves is to play out lots of elves really quickly, ideally drawing a bunch of cards with Glimpse of Nature, and then Natural Order or Green Sun Zenith for a Crate Hoof Behemoth and smash people hard. I played this sort of deck recently and I lost because I had one Crate Hoof Behemoth, one Progenitus in the main, and that cost me a game where I drew the Crate Hoof when I needed to tutor for it. So I decided to go back and try again with a slightly more streamlined list. We're not playing the new Lord this time, we're just going for the full 4 Elvish Visionaries and try and do some Wirewood Symbiote shenanigans and try and draw some cards that way. We've got the Nettle Sentinel Heritage Druid plan, none of the Fiend Artisan decks that you're seeing a lot lately, and we've got the Allosaurus Shepherd because it's also just another way of winning the game. So it's pretty standard list here, really. As for the sideboard, we've got a few Green Sun Zenith targets here for when we need them. I actually like the Grist in the sideboard more than the main deck. I think you just want to streamline your main plan, I think. Force of Vigor and Assassin's Trophy, kind of pretty self-explanatory. You need to blow some stuff up sometimes, so that's what we're here for. Progenitus, I'm not actually sure when the Progenitus is even that good, because the control decks where you need to dodge removal are bringing in sweepers like Supreme Verdict these days. So unless it's against something like Grixis, but even they can sweep and then hit you with a sudden edict type thing. So I'm not even convinced the Progenitus is worth the slot, but we're going to run it because this is a list I found online, and obviously if someone else has been playing it, they know more about elves than I do. Thoughtseize, sometimes you need to pick holes and stuff. Some decks can race you, so you need to be able to hit them like that. Same with the Mind Break Trap, and same with the Ley Line. You don't want to get hit by Reanimator, so you board in the Ley Lines. I'm not sure having the 3 and then the 1 to 2 to 4 with the Green Sun Zenith is necessarily the best, but I guess we're just going to run it and see how it goes. Alright, I think that's about it. There's not really anything particular I need to mention about it. Maybe Once Upon a Time is a bit interesting here. It just sort of helps smooth your early draws, I think. But yeah, alright, we're going to fire into a league and see how we do. Alright, so this is our opening hand for round 1, game 1. We are on the play. We've got a reasonable hand here. We can Elvish Reclaimer on 1 into Wirewood Symbiote, Elvish Visionary on turn 2. So we're going to keep this. So the Elvish Reclaimer here represents a multitude of different decks, whereas the Wirewood Symbiote would make it very clear we're on elves. So this, they're most likely thinking elves, but we could also be playing something like lands variants or something like that. Green White Depths, for example. Quite a lot of decks are running the Elvish Reclaimer, even 12 post. A Den of the Bugbear, that suggests to me a Prison-y style red deck. So we want to get ahead of it this turn as best we can. So I think we put out the Symbiote, put out the Cradle, a couple of green mana, put out another Symbiote. Okay, I think we just go to attacks here. Get a little bit of damage in because we do need to beat them by reducing their life total to 0. So next turn we can kill them with a Crate Hoof of Natural Order. So our opponent has to have a pretty good turn here. So they could play a Fury or evoke a Fury and strip out some of our board. We can bounce the Visionary, for example. But Blood Moon, how big an issue is Blood Moon for us? We already have our Forest in play. It's not ideal because we kind of want another green source, but there's nothing we can do about it. So we can always sacrifice something for a Forest as well. Natural Order. So what is the play here? We can play out a Visionary and then bash for a little bit, which isn't very exciting. I think that's probably the best shout here though. So we play this out, and then next turn we can go and get another land. Taps for green potentially. Okay, a Glimpse is interesting to me. So if we draw a green source next turn, we can just win with Natural Order. So we've got options to win this game. The Blood Moon is annoying, but it's only shutting off the Cradle and the fetch land for now. Favor the Mirror Breaker. This is fine. It's when it becomes friends with Fury and they can machine gun down loads of our things that is the real issue. Okay. What's the plan here? We can bounce an elf, replay the elf, draw a card. Looking for land. Because we can cycle one of these into a green source. And we can't use the Glimpse because we don't have multiple green sources. So I think we attack with our 2 Elvish Visionaries and then bounce the one that doesn't get blocked, that does get blocked. And we can force through 1 point of damage at the same time here. Oh. And, so we get the 1 damage in. Okay, a Green Sun Zenith that we can't do anything with this turn, but we can get a Heritage Druid next turn, which can get us a load of green mana. So I think as long as our opponent doesn't kill all of our creatures this turn, I think we'll be okay. I suspect if they had the Fury, they might have fired off a turn before, unless they're really trying to go for the casting and getting it in play as well. Trinisphere. I don't really care about 2 damage here. I want to keep our creatures so we have the most amount of things to attack with. I suspect this means they're going to cast Fury this turn though, so we have to bounce one of the things that Fury is going to blow up. It's going to get more difficult for us if they cast a Fury for sure. Well, they're thinking about it for a minute, so maybe they don't have it, because you just snap it off immediately and shoot down out of our board. Shatter Skull. Okay, so we'll untap this and we'll bounce this. So we lose one of our creatures here. But one of them we then have to replay. Okay. That was a lot better for us than a Fury. So we cast this Green Sun Zenith for X is 1. Get Heritage Druid. Okay, so this sort of answers a lot of our mana problems that we were having. So 3 mana here. So I think we play out Elvish Visionary first. Okay, another Green Sun. So play out 2 more elves. Play this out. So return an elf to untap. So we'd like to untap this, and we will return this Elvish Visionary. Oh, that was an error. Sorry, what I should have done there was tutor for the nettle sentinel. Like, we do have the kill next turn, but I could have done a lot more this turn. I'm not very overly familiar with the elf deck, so I'm going to make the occasional mistake. This is the second time I've ever played elves, but I should have had slightly different operations there. So again, they have the option of Furying us potentially. If they have the Fury here, that's very bad, because they'll be able to copy it from the next turn. But hopefully we can win next turn. Trinisphere, we do not care about Trinisphere. Okay, so we can tap these 3 guys for mana. Yeah, okay, we just tap 3 untapped elves. So we tap a load of mana here. So we add red. Cast a Natural Order, pricing Reclaimer. This gets us Great Hoof Behemoth. So I'd like to untap this elf and I'll return this elf. And then we can bash them for a bunch. Nice, okay. Made a little misstep, but we worked it out in the end. So Force of Vigor is an obvious one here. Collector Reef is fine, but not incredible. The Thoughtseize is also fine to find the little bits of hate they have. Assassin's Trophy blows things up. So we've got 3 definites that we want in here. So what are we going to be contending with? We probably need to get rid of Once Upon a Times if we're boarding in things that we want to hit that Once Upon a Time doesn't hit. That makes some amount of sense to me. The Glimpses might be difficult underneath things like Trinisphere. So maybe we want to trim one of those, because at least if we have a guy, we can play the guy. So we can trim on a Glimpse, I think there is probably okay. So this is the one that returns forests, which isn't necessarily something I'm a big fan of doing here. So maybe this is one that we can actually cut instead of a Glimpse. This is probably going to be a little bit tricky. The Progenitus is going to be something that's very hard for them to answer. Is that going to be better than a Crater Hoof most of the time? It might well be better than a Crater Hoof. Because if we just put the 10/10 into play, they're obviously going to be hitting themselves with a bit of pain lands from the Ancient Tombs and stuff. So maybe this will be able just to get over the line if I've only got like 1 little creature in play after a tricky rebuild. So maybe this is the matchup where you board out one of the Crater Hoofs. Again, could be completely wrong here, but we're going to give it a go. The Thoughtseize is probably going to be better on the play than on the draw, so I think we're going to submit like this. So this is the opening hand I've been dealt. We don't have any mana to go anywhere, so we have to mulligan this one. This one is fine as long as they don't Blood Moon me turn 1, otherwise we're in real trouble. So it's a case of, do I think we can dodge a turn 1 Blood Moon? That is the question. I think we keep and hope we dodge a turn 1 Blood Moon, really. Ancient Tomb, Chalice for 1. Yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to cast a Green Sun Zenith for 2 and get an Allosaurus Shepherd and just ignore the Chalice for the rest of the game. Because Allosaurus Shepherd is a very silly card. Dried Arbor is no good for us here. Play this out. We don't need to crack this yet. Is there any reason not to crack it now? No, we just crack it now and save time on the clock, I think. Let's get one of our basic forests and then pass through the turn. A Rabble Must. Okay, so that's the clock that we're going to have to beat. And it's a pretty good clock. But once we get rolling, we can really do some work here. We don't know what other follow-ups they have, though. So we're going to play this out and get another... Do we get the forest here or do we get the bayou? I think if we get the bayou, that means we're live if we draw the Assassin's Trophy. So I think we should take the bayou here. They're not going to impact our lands unless it's a blood moon. So I think this is fine. Okay. Obviously they can kill this and things, but next turn we might be able to field a multitude of creatures. So we can play 2 creatures, tap for mana, deploy another one and a Green Sun Zenith. Alternatively, we can hold the Green Sun Zenith to try and power out enough mana for a Crater Hoof, but we just have to see what our opponent does on their next turn. Or in this turn that they're in currently, I should say. A Chromox. What are they going to imprint? A Squee. 4 mana, so this could be a Chandra. A Fiery Confluence. They're just going to destroy our Allosaurus Shepherd. Okay, that's a little bit awkward, but it's going to set us back a turn. And every turn we're set back is no small feat because of these guys. So you can play out the Dried Arbor, make the same play as last turn, and get the Allosaurus Shepherd. Next time we play Nettle Sentinel into Heritage Druid, tap 3, and play this untap. So if we draw a natural order next turn, we can probably win. But obviously our opponent's casting 4 drops here. Fury, okay, so this is definitely one of the bad ones for us. Nothing we can do here, we lose our permanents, and we're dead on the next turn. So we have to naturally draw. No, even if drawing naturally drawing Allosaurus Shepherd doesn't help us here, we're just dead. Alright, so we're on the play now. So how do I feel about these situations? So that's kind of why I'm in the market for broadening the progenitors, because I might not have enough creatures to have a lethal Crater Hoof, whereas this can just do its thing. There's an option for having the Geist just to keep creating blockers, and the Collector Roof is okay for shutting down Chrome Moxes and treasure tokens, but I think we might just be better off just going fast here and trying to dodge some of their bits and pieces. Although I think I might trade 1 Glimpse in for a Grist. Let's try that. I will keep these cards. We only have 1 mana source here, but we get to go first. We can guarantee it's a basic forest. And we have the way to play around the Chalice. I'm okay with this one. Because this one isn't playing around a Chalice, I'm just going to play out... I think we play out the Heritage Druid here. And next turn, hopefully we draw some mana. And then if they spend their turn on Chalice, like an Allosaurus Shepherd into Nettle Sentinel, into tapping 3 and playing the rest of our hand. Now, we do need something like a Cradle or something to get this guy to do things. So we're going to need something else for this hand. But okay, that's a pretty good one. We still need more mana is the issue here. So we can go and get a Dryad Arbor here, which is not great, but I think it might be the situation we're in. So I think we attack for our 1 point of damage. And then we get a Dryad Arbor. It's not really where I want to be, but I need to have more mana for the next turn. It does show us how vulnerable we are to Evoked Fury right now. So they might see that and just smash our guys down. And if we don't draw mana, then we're in trouble. But we can draw Cradle, and that'll give us loads of mana next turn. You can pay 1-2, get 2 more guys, tap Cradle, and then they basically have 1 turn to deal with our guys. But they do have the ability to shoot them all down with Fiery Confluence when they hit 4 mana. So there's a lot of options our opponent has within their deck. But they just have to deal with the cards that they've got, because they're not a blue deck to find these answers. Okay, a dead gone. That's annoying, but it is what it is. Just a Chalice turn? No, it's Fable the Mirror Breaker with a Seaman Spirit Guide. This is fine, but not ideal. Let's play out the Nettle Sentinel, play out the Cradle, that's 2, play out Allosaurus Shepherd, tap some Elves, play out this guy, play out this guy, and play out this guy. So we're in trouble if they can make enough mana to Fiery Confluence us. But if not, then we can attack them for lethal next turn. So it's one of those situations where you say, do you have it? And you really, really hope that they don't. So that's the game you play sometimes in Magic. A Fury can kill 3 of our creatures here as well. We can Wire with Symbiote to save one of them. But yeah, I think we've done all we can with this hand. Blood Moon also shuts off the Gaia's Cradle. It means that we don't have a lot in the way of power attacking next turn. But we can hold our guys back to activate this at instant speed so that we can dodge a Fiery Confluence and then just wait until we draw like a Natural Order, which is a line we might have to take because we don't really want to get blown out by Fiery Confluence if we're going to get blown out by a Blood Moon now. Okay, so there's the Fury that we thought might happen. What are they going to target here? They have to target the Allosaurus Shepherd, and I think I have to bounce the Allosaurus. Targeting both Heritage Druids as well. So we need to return the Allosaurus Shepherd. So we need to untap this and return this. So we're going to lose 3 guys here, which is bad for us. But we still have the Allosaurus Shepherd at least. They are down to 2 cards though, but their Fable of the Mirror Breaker will allow them to start accruing a mana advantage with their Goblin Shaman. Another Fury. Okay. So they've gone hellbent to destroy all of our permanents, basically. So this is bad for us, obviously. But we do have 1 creature in hand. So the question is, do we play this creature out now? If we play this creature out now, how does it affect things? They've only got 1. I think we play it out now so we have the option of having a bigger turn next turn if we can sort of chain some Elvish Visionaries in, and because they are hellbent, we should have at least a couple of turns. Fury is good. So they're getting a mana advantage here now because they're going to make treasure tokens every turn. Green Sun Zenith. What does this get us? It's probably going to be Heritage Druid, isn't it? Not Heritage Druid. Elvish Visionary. I think it has to be the Elvish Visionary here because we need more cards desperately. A Nettle Sentinel. So next turn we can kill the Nettle Sentinel, and if we draw a Natural Order we can get Progenitus, or we can get 1, 2, 3 guys. Each one will be +3, so 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So we can't quite have lethal next turn. If we draw the Natural Order, we can get the Progenitus and ride that over 2 turns, which is probably... But these treasure tokens are going to be doing a lot of work for them because it just means that anything they do draw, it's going to be live. Hopefully they won't draw another Fury because they've already had 2. Or they exile the Rebel Master. We're not going to be blocking here. If we get another Green Sun Zenith, we probably want to get the Wire with Symbiote so we can just keep reusing the Visionary. Is this just a hard cast 2/2? Respect that. A Glimpse of Nature. Well, we're not going to cast it, so even if it's just a cycle for 1, it's still something. So I can activate Cradle, play Cradle, attack with 2 5/5s. Is that good enough here? Is that worth me doing? I'll probably chump block 1, take a hit. Is that worth doing? It means if we draw another Cradle, we can repeat the same play next turn, but with 3 attackers. So they might be forced to keep something back on blocks. It's a case of doing what I think I can do to try and win the game. So they're going to give us a bash in this turn. Okay, the Den of the Bugbear next turn is going to be live, so that's going to be hitting us as well. So if we don't draw something good, we might have to block. There was definitely an option where I could have held the Glimpse of Nature, but I just think we're in a case where we so desperately needed something, I was happy to cycle it. Maybe that's wrong, but if I don't draw a... So I would have just drawn the Cradle, so it would have been a nothing play here. So this turn we can play out this Heritage Druid, and this taps for 4 this turn, which isn't really enough, but what I can do is I can block and then use Heritage Druid to pump all my guys. So we've kind of blunted the attacks, I think, this turn. And then next turn we can activate all our guys. Sure. What have we got here? Something horrible. Blood Moon. This is interesting. It gives us 1/5/5 to block with. It's probably worth doing, isn't it? So it has to be these three because the nettle sentinel doesn't untap. Okay. So they can still use the additional shame they have to attack along with another one. So at the very least they just get one treasure here. It's been a funny old game. They got one card in hand. Natural Order is good here. Force of Vigor is pretty decent here. We're probably incentivized to do this in their turn. So if we go to blocks, we got 4, 5, 6 mana for this, 3, so we don't get to activate and blow everything up that way. So I think we have to pass and then do this in their turn. We can't cast it for free, so we've got the one card in hand. So we tap these 3, 4 mana, Force of Vigor, this taps for 4, 5. So we're going to have to kind of take whatever they throw at us this turn, but we can clap back for lethal next turn, in theory. We can obviously make 3 mana here and then make 3 mana here and make our guys big enough to block their creatures. So they're probably going to attack with the Goblin Shaman here. So I think we just let them have this. Then if they Fury, we can make big stuff with our creatures, and if they don't, then we can end of turn Force of Vigor, untap, attack with a bunch of big guys and force them to block, because we can blow up one of their... Okay, they're just playing out another guy. So I think we cast this targeting Blood Moon and Reflection of Kikijiki. Oh. Since this is an enchantment creature. So they're making another guy. I haven't got a lot of time on my clock, so I need to speed up a little bit here. Okay, Green Sun Zenith. So this makes 7, 8, 9. Crate Hoover's 8 mana. And this will untap the Nettle Sentinel as well. So yes, it's 17, 23 damage. And they're going to block 2, 4, 6, 8 of it. So I think we've got this one. Excellent, we got that one. There was a bit of back and forth in that one, and it certainly could have ended up a lot worse for us, but there's 2 Furies in their bin, and a Blood Moon, and a Dead Gone, and we still won that matchup, which kind of shows you how resilient elves can be, especially since this deck kind of throws its stuff out, but then kind of has to wait for like whatever it draws to dictate the rest of the game. All right, let's go on to round 2. So this is the opening hand we've been dealt. This Creative Behemoth is kind of not really going to do anything. We're on a very slow hand, both Dried Arbors. I think we have to mulligan. This hand doesn't have any ways of casting spells, we have to mulligan. This hand doesn't have any ways of casting spells, we have to mulligan. I guess we're keeping a 4. So, what to do here? So we need to keep the Elvish Visionary, that's a given. We can keep the Heritage Druid Nettle Sentinel combo. So I guess we're get rid of Reclaimer and Birchlaw. But then I don't think we can realistically keep this Glimpse because we just don't have any mana to make a Glimpse turn. At best, this is going to be cycle for 1. So I think we probably have to put the Glimpse back and just hope that this can do something. Our opponent's on the play as well. Okay, so their deck is probably going to spank us in game 1 anyway, so can probably live with that. Question is, do I play out anything here? I guess we see what they discard. The Grizzlebrand. Sure. They have a Lotus Petal. Are they going to cast Reanimate? If they do, I think we just pick it up here. I guess we could draw a Cradle, but if they start discarding our hand in any way, shape or form, then we just pick this up immediately rather than showing them our hand, I think. It's got an Exhume and they got 1 leftover mana. So they're probably going to draw 7 and see what they can find. Dark Ritual. So we're getting something else here. Guess we can get a tiny bit more information if they play some more things out. Not sure how that will realistically impact what we're sideboarding unless they show us that they've also got the Children of Corliss Tendrils of Agony package in their deck. If they want to show us that and try and kill us on turn 1, then we can board in the Mindbreak Trap. Okay, so we're going to concede, so I don't see what we're playing. I don't feel so bad about a mulligan to 5 in a matchup that we're almost certainly going to lose anyway, so not upset about that one. So we probably need Thought Seizers here as well, just because they're faster than us. The Endurance deals with graveyards. Is a Collector Roof something we want just to shut down Lotus Petals? I don't think so. Do we want something to deal with guys that slip through? I don't realistically think that's a good enough option, is it? I think if they slip a guy through, we're probably going to lose. We probably need a way of not dying to Sema's Emissary. if they have it. Although they won't necessarily know that's the one they need to keep in their deck now. They might just resubmit the same hand. So maybe we need these two as well. Potentially. I could be wrong here. So probably boarding out Once Upon a Time because they don't find the sideboard cards. Probably don't need the Crew on Rangers here. Maybe we can board out Birch Laws. We kind of need to have like the big glimpsy turns. There's no Bajuka Bog here. So the Reclaimer might just be too slow. If we're boarding out all of our elves, then our deck's just not going to function, is it? So we're definitely at risk of overboarding here. So let's reappraise the situation. So we have these elves. So these three coming out for the 3 ley lines. I'm down with that. That makes sense to me. Now, the Endurance we could take out for maybe a Visionary. We might not have time to be doing Visionary things. Sure. There's some logic to that in my brain. So now it's a case of Thought Seizers on the play. I think these might be better on the draw than on the play. So maybe we want Thought Seize. So we can probably take out 1 Reclaimer. We're just taking out Visionaries. We're taking out Natural Orders. Oh, I don't know here. Seems weird to take out the Visionary. Is it better to take out Glimpses than Visionaries? I think we need to have the silly Glimpse turns though. So maybe we take out the 2 mana cards for Thought Seizers here. So how many is this? So this is 60 here. So we've still got all these elves in here. I think I'd rather have a Visionary than Reclaimer. And we've got Birch Laws, Crew on Rangers. Okay, I'm pretty sure this is wrong somewhere along the lines. Which isn't really what you want to hear. But we're going to submit like this. I guess there's an option of bringing a Progenitus and just trying to get a Progenitus out there. But they can Sarah's damage. Okay, we're just going to play. Oh, I didn't click submit, so now we've got our base deck. That was an error. I was thinking about it too much. And now we don't have any of our tools. So basically we need to just be able to go off here as soon as possible. This would need to find us a forest, so we have to mulligan. Jeez. This doesn't really go anywhere. I think we have to mulligan. Like, we can get a 5-card hand that's kind of the same as this already, more or less. Okay, so this one goes somewhere. Then we put back the Bayou. And Birch Laws. The Birch Law Rangers produces us a mana. I think it might be the Green Sun here. I guess we play Allosaurus Shepherd out on 1. I didn't get to sideboard properly because I was thinking too hard. So we are almost certainly going to lose this game. And that's on me for not submitting in time. I think they should make it so that if you don't submit in time, it just submits whatever's in your window. That would make slightly more sense to me. Alas, I've been undone by my deliberations of not knowing what I'm doing on a deck. I can't imagine this matchup is good. Obviously, a ley line can change things quite a lot. Because they're probably going to board in something that deals with the ley line. But we might just be dead on turn 1 again. I thought so. So we're going to lose our Natural Order here. So we don't have payoffs. Like, we have the Allosaurus Shepherd, which is kind of a payoff if you have enough guys. But not really sure what we're going to need here. Suppose if we draw a Glimpse and get lucky, we can chain a little bit because we've got the Birch Laws. Okay, let's have a Misty Rainforest. So we play out the Misty Rainforest, play it out this guy. We're going to hold up the Misty Rainforest and get a Dryad Arbor, is the plan at least. Just attack for 1. So this will give us 3, 4. Okay, we've got Lotus Petal here. 1, 2, 3. So tap for 3 mana, 4, 5. So we still won't be able to activate this next turn. Unless we tap our guys, obviously then we're not doing anything with our 5/5s. Opponent seems like they've got everything they need here, so this could be Entomb, Exhume, Show and Tell. Okay, so the ley lines wouldn't have done anything for us anyway. So they're going to put this on the stack. I'm going to play this. So I'm going to go and get a Dryad Arbor. So I'd rather have elves than a 1/1 non-elf. So we are very much in trouble. I don't think our sideboard would have helped us here. It doesn't mean that I shouldn't have had it. Our opponent had the Duke into the Show and Tell anyway. So maybe we'd even been better off with our main deck because it wouldn't have interacted with what they were winning the game with anyway. Bit of removal for this might not have gone amiss in terms of the Grist and the Assassin's Trophy. That's only 2 cards, and I'd have to use these for the black mana for it. They got another follow-up. That'd be less than ideal. I think we want maybe Elvish Visionary this turn. We're going to be sacrificing creatures, that's for sure. Glimpse of Nature. This does literally nothing. So that's bad for us. Have to go to their turn. So we're going to lose this Glimpse of Nature and we're going to lose one of our creatures. Which creature do we lose here? Probably has to be the Allosaurus Shepherd, just because at least this guy can tap mana. So if I get like an Elvish Visionary, I can play it and then tap and maybe cast a 1-drop that I draw. But we don't have a lot of turns. This guy is a 2-turn clock. Not sure how we get out of this one. Can't say this matchup looks great. What they're doing is just more broken than what we're doing. I guess the Thought Seizers I had could have been useful to pick a hole in this if I'd have actually correctly sideboarded. I think we are just going to concede. Not really sure what we can have on our turn. I think we're just going to concede it anyway. We probably conceded earlier in the turn, but alright. That matchup looked horrible. We obviously not getting the sideboard to go through because we took too long was certainly an issue, and we might have been able to Thought Seize them. Obviously, we still had to mulligan pretty hard just to even find a playable hand that turn, so who knows, really. Alright, on to the next round. Okay, our opponent is a Yorion deck, so that's probably Death and Taxes or the 4-colour piles. We are on the draw. We have this opening hand, which only has the 1 mana source, but we do have the Once Upon a Time to find something, and we're not going to hit a Blood Moon against us either, against a Yorion deck. So I think we keep this and we use the Once Upon a Time to find a Cradle or a Forest, I think would be good. So we'll keep. Okay, so it looks like they're playing one of the piles rather than D&T. So first things first, cast without paying mana costs. Free spells are free. So one of the things I said we wanted was a mana source. So we're just going to take this Mysterium Forest. We'll play this out. Go and get a basic forest. And we will cast. I think we cast. So if we cast this one, it can get removed and stop counter spells, whereas next turn we can sort of double load up on it. So I think we probably put out the Reclaimer this turn. This also makes it not 100% certain what we're playing, because it could be like some sort of depths build that has Once Upon a Time. So we're keeping it a little bit in the dark for them. Like, I'm expecting my first creature to get removed with a Prismatic Ending or Restores to Plowshares. That's kind of what I'm expecting to transpire here. Could be wrong, obviously. You never quite know. But I'd rather play this and other stuff in the same turn to make use of the can't be countered clause in case they're playing. So was this one? This is the Mountain Forest Plains. So that's the Naya one. So they're almost certainly playing Minsk and Boo, because any green-red deck should basically be playing Minsk and Boo, I think. Okay, so there's the Plowshares that we were expecting. So that turn cycle played out exactly as I thought it would. So we have the Cradle here, but I don't think we cast it this turn. So we play out the Cradle. We don't really get to go anywhere with it. So I think this turn we play out. So we can get another one of these. So this turn, if we play out the Elvish Visionary, I think that's still right. And then next turn we try and have a big Glimpse of Nature turn. So we want to keep our 1-drops in hand for the Glimpse of Nature turn. Right, game is going to be a little bit slower. So we can tap for 2, play this, play the Cradle out, tap for 2, play this, get 3 mana, Elvish Visionary, draw 2 more cards. Seems okay. Collector Reef, that doesn't impact us. That's kind of Shield's downturn for them. Seeing that guy in hand isn't ideal. So if we play the Glimpse of Nature first, they can counterspell it with 4 cards in hand, although we haven't seen any blue sources. So I'm going to think they're on like an Abzan red pile. Let's try this. It looks more like depths. Play this out and this guy. Always yield to this. So we have Cradle. This is good. This gives us a bit of an engine because this guy's going to untap every time we cast a spell. So this is more of the sort of turn that I want to. We'll tap the summoning sick ones. We've got 3 mana here. So play out this. And then we tap 3 elves. And we play out this. And we play out. If you go and get another nettle sentinel, I think we use this. Turn a forest we control to untap this. You just want to generate maximum mana here. And just try and go for a big creative turn. So if we cast this where X is 1, sorry, I think. X is currently 1. This gets us the nettle sentinel. So we have 2. So we need to start generating mana. How's this going? My operations aren't the quickest here, I know. Feels like we're in the right ballpark of winning this game now. Yes. Yes. We tap some else for mana. Throw this out. So they can have a source to plowshares. Potentially. It's something we're going to have to play around perhaps. Okay, so now we're... Sorry, that's suboptimal there. I forgot to tap, so I've missed some mana there. But now every spell I cast generates mana. Now we green suns for the Wirewood Symbiote here, I think. And we're going to make 2 creatives this turn. Always yes. Okay. So go find the Wirewood Symbiote. We'll tap some elf mana. And then we will return an elf to untap an elf. So I will untap this elf because it's the non-summoning sick one to return this. And then we will cast this. We draw some cards. Some more mana here. Cast this. My clock is going to take a bit of a beating from this because I'm not the quickest from operations, but here we go. Do we need to cast Once Upon a Time here? Possibly. Tap these just so we know what we're doing mana wise. It's got 15 mana, so this is 8 plus 4. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. This has probably got to be enough, right? Might as well cast this because it's free. Another one with Symbiote, sure. Let's tap some manas here. Cast this. Turn an elf, so I'd like to untap this and return this. These are 3 mana. Like, I'm pretty sure I've got enough guys here. Let's go through one more of these Elvish Visionaries. So we need to make sure both of our guys are lethal here, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Surely this is enough, right? I guess we can also pay into Allosaurus Shepherd if we need to. Just to pump the Elvish Visionary. Just make some more mana here. Cast this natural order. Okay. So the way they didn't immediately concede this made me think they did have the source to plowshares and they needed me to have the natural order. So maybe I carried on too long going through the chain, but I wanted to make sure I won. Alright, so our opponent's playing one of those Yorion type piles. So a lot of what I've got here is good, but it looks like they were sort of heading towards like a Depthsy type thing, which means they might have Life from the Lair, but I'm not massively bothered by Life from the Lair. Like the endurance is probably fine enough for that. I think the Grist, is probably okay here. And this can kill Minsk and Boo type stuff if necessary. So maybe we trim on the Once Upon a Times again. And then we just need to find one more cut. So what is the weakest thing here? Maybe it's the Quirion Ranger. The Reclaimer can find us our cradles. Am I missing anything? Like, Thought Seizers might help me punch through some stuff. But I think we're just going to be looking at removal spells. And then some threats, really. What am I missing that they might play? I don't know. We're going to submit. I've not seen much in the way of Yorion Depthsy style decks. So, not entirely sure what we're looking at here. So this hand... It has Cradles and it has Heritage Druid, but doesn't have any sort of draw engines going on. I do have the Boseiju to deal with their like Dark Depths type thing if they have that. So I don't think I should keep this one, but I think I can because I can flip this into a Dryad Arbor. I think people in the chat might be screaming at me for keeping this, but here we go. Like they're going to be a Wasteland deck, so having redundant Crucible is nice. Okay, so they're Green Sun's anything for a Dryad Arbor. So we've got the endurance if we want it. So I think we play out this and turn it into a Dryad Arbor on their turn. So this can like shrink a Knight of the Reliquary or fizzle a Life from the Loam long enough for me to get going. And the Boseiju can interrupt. Okay, or I can blow something like that up if I'm in the mood for blowing that up. Taking a whole turn off to do that and accelerating them doesn't feel great though. I could have offered a trade here, but I think the mana's better in my pool than theirs. So let's go and get ourselves a Dryad Arbor. We're pausing in our upkeep. Interesting. So this turn we can play out Heritage Druid, play Cradle, tap for 2 to Boseiju something. That seems fine. Maybe play out this Shepherd first. So we can either draw a card with Elvish Visionary, or we can hold up to deal with the Thespian stage. I think we probably just want to Visionary though, because then we're not going to make stage until it's my turn anyway, so I think we'll be okay with that. Or they might just take a turn to Wasteland the Cradle because I can go off next turn. Potentially. They don't necessarily know that my hand's got a bunch of lands in. But we can activate Allosaurus Shepherd if we need to. I think this game is relatively even. It depends what our opponent has in hand. Obviously they're an 80 card deck, so they're less likely to just have it immediately, but they're going to run crop rotations and Elvish Reclaimers and so on and so forth. So they're going to have ways of digging and finding the specific things they want. Okay, so they're keeping one of their cards. Tabernacle at Pendrell Vale. That's a very good one. So the Cradle can pay for that. And then I can Boseiju it. So I think we are okay. Guy's Cradle is pretty effective against the old Tabernacle, but a Foretold card. What on earth could that be? No idea what is in our opponent's deck. Unless they're foretelling a Wrath. But why would you run that Wrath, I guess? So we can Boseiju this turn, or we can just try and have a Glimpse of Nature turn. I don't hate Glimpse of Nature turn. So I think we... Let's see how we go. If we play out the Cradle, keep this Cradle, that's for 3, play this out, draw some cards. I think we tap these 3 now, and we cast this. Our Green Sun Zenith. So if we go Green Sun Zenith now, what does that actually find us? We can untap stuff, but it's not going to be great, is it? So I think we just take out the Tabernacle now. We've had a little bit of a turn there. We drew some cards, we made some guys. So if they get a Wasteland, that's pretty bad for us. But we've got a bunch of guys, so maybe we can do something with that. Like we could have untapped an elf if we had a forest. I guess this is a forest actually. So I could have bounced this, untap this, tap for 3, cast the Green Suns for 2 or less. To draw another card with Elvish Visionary, to get us 2 cards deeper into our deck. That probably would have been better. Yeah, I think that was an error not to do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we can kill with Crater Hoof next turn, if we get a next turn, with our board unmolested. So what we don't want them to do is have Life from the Loam, get back Tabernacle, play Tabernacle. I guess we just pay again, which isn't really getting us anywhere particularly exciting. Life from the Loam. So they're going to get back their Tabernacle here. I could have pitched the Endurance there with the Green Sun Zenith. That would have been the better play there, I think. Because now if they have a Wasteland, we're just messed up there. Yeah, I missed that one. That's on me. Yeah, I definitely should have Endurance that. Case of playing late night leagues and making little silly errors. Our Cradle does pay for all our guys though. Birch Law Rangers, how does that change things? Not entirely sure it does. So we can get a Green Sun Zenith, but we're kind of using that for other means here. Play this out. So Taps 3 guys here to make 3 mana. This makes 4. This makes 5. 6, 7, 8. So how big would our guy be? He'd be 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So he'd be lethal and have to go through the Dryad Arbor. Is there a way that I can get that for more? 2, 3. So we tap some elves from some mana. So if we pay out this guy and we tap some more elves for mana. That's 5, 6, 7. This is 8. So we are still one short, aren't we? Oh, that's annoying. Right, we're pretty cold to Wasteland. Is there a way that we can get around Wasteland? We can't Zenith into anything useful here. I think we have to keep this for the Crater Hoof. So I think we just cast this and get rid of their Life from Alone now. And just suck up the fact that we made a mistake last turn by not getting rid of the Tabernacle. Yeah, I think that's going to cost us. We've also shuffled their Sylvan Library, which might have been something that they were hoping for. Yeah. No, I think we should have had this by pitching the Endurance to get rid of the Tabernacle here. We could have just used this and gone off and killed them. Like, we're still in this game, which is a testament to the deck, but certainly a little mistake that I should know better. Oh, they tapped down their blocker at least, so making a Marit Lage isn't good enough this turn, I don't think. I've done my maths right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Untap this 9. Yep, so I'll have 3 creatures attacking with Crater Hoof triggers. So that will be enough as long as I don't lose my Gaia's Cradle to Wasteland. If that happens, then we're just dead. Okay, so they didn't take additional cards with their Sylvan Library. So they might be able to Glacial Chasm us, if that's something in their deck, and they can shoot for it with a Crop Rotation, which would be pretty awkward for us. So I think this deck only has 1 Beseiju, so we wouldn't be able to find any way around it at that point. We just have to hope that we can let them die to their triggers on it, but they shouldn't do that if they know what they're doing. But I guess they would have to have a Life from the Loam or something. I don't know. We're not in great shape, but we could also win the game next turn. It's one of those weird ones where the margins here between failure and success are very thin. There's also this Foretold card, which I have no idea what it is. A Green Sun Zenith for 3. What is this going to be? The only thing I can do now, action-wise, is Query on Ranger, so I can untap something. But I need this forest in place so I can win next turn. So, Knight of the Reliquary. Okay, so they are dead. Pay for all my guys. I guess Solitude or something, maybe? So I think we just play out this forest and then we start making mana. So we go 1, 2, 3 elves. 1, 2, 3 elves. Then we tap this for green. And then we tap these for green. And then we go return a forest, untap target creature. So we'd like to untap this creature, return this forest. And then we can cast Green Sun for 8. And this should be lethal. They don't have any mana up. I'm curious what that Foretold card is. Okay, we're never going to see what it is. So I made a misplay with my Endurance there that could have cost me the game quite dramatically. I was lucky not to get punished for that one, and it was a mistake, and I hope it was a good learning experience for everyone watching to think of it more carefully before you pass priority. All right, on to round 4, I think it is. I think we're 2 and 1. Let's go on round 4. Okay, so we're on the draw for this round. This is our opening hand. Yeah, seems all right. We can go and get Cradle with Reclaimer, and then we've got a bunch of guys. This seems fine. We're going to keep. A Goblin Lackey. Oh, Elves versus Goblin, the classic. So we're going to play our Elvish Reclaim on turn 1 so we can block more easily, more profitably. We're not going to play out a land that can get wastelanded either. Let's get this. Play out a 1-2. I remember when Goblins was not a very good deck in Legacy because everyone was running Deathrite Shaman, who happened to be a 1-2. So Goblin Lackey, you couldn't trade with it or anything. This guy. Ugh. Whew. This is the decision, isn't it? Yikes. Do we throw away our 1-drop to buy a turn? Or do we just try and play out a bunch of stuff and race them? I think we have to race them here. This could be a horrible error, but we'll see. Is it the big boy? It's the munitions expert. Okay, so effectively they got a 2-2 out of that. Pretty much as good as it could have gone, I think, there. So what are we doing now? Playing out guys, I suppose. I think we just have to play out a forest here and just play out 2 shepherds. And then hope we're not dead in the really near future. Again, we can't block here. If the worst thing they put in last time was munitions expert, then I... Okay, yeah, so if they're putting in 2-2, they're putting in like 2 mana 1/1s. I can live with that. Okay, they have a sort of combo assembled here now. So they might sack a guy to port or use the Caracas to port. Sure, they're going to Caracas port us. That's fine. Green Sun Zenith. I think we play out the Bayou here. Cast this. Tap 3 elves. Cast this for... I think it's just X equals 2 to get a visionary and dig a little deeper, isn't it? I think that's the correct play here. Where's the visionary? There's a visionary. Let's draw a card. A nettle sentinel. Yeah, I'm happy to play that out as well. How many times we've got? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. So we're not dead on board. And if they attack with everything, then I can kill them the swing back maybe. If I draw a cradle, then they're just dead. If I draw a natural order, I can kill them. So how much are they coming in for? Do I want to trade my nettle sentinel? No, I think we just need the max amount of bodies and this isn't lethal damage. We're just ships in the night here, but they've had a bit of interaction and we haven't. But we have a more explosive thing we can do, I think. They can sack a lot of guys and make a lot of mana and dig a lot of cards. Goblin Creator Maker has entered the exile zone. Sure, so this is a pretty real card here. They can snipe down my Heritage Druid. Yeah, that's what they're going to do. That's fine. That's not the thing that we needed to draw to win us the game. We need to draw Cradle or Natural Order. So 7 out of... Okay, so we've drawn the Cradle. So, wait, is that actually enough now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, it's just shy, isn't it? That's awkward. So we can't actually play out the Cradle this turn. I have to play this out, and this can generate 2 mana next turn, so we have to survive another turn. Can we survive another turn, or do we have to play the Cradle? We should have played the Cradle out, maybe, so that we could block more effectively. Oh, I think we've punted this game, to be honest. Yeah, so if we'd have played out the Cradle here, we could pump our guys on blocks. Yeah. That would have been the play. I think we've made a horrible error there. At least it's a learning experience for everyone. I didn't want to play it out to get tapped down by the Rishadan port on my turn, but I didn't think about what my opponent was doing fully on their turn. Because this is going to be a rough turn for us. Like, they should be able to kill us here. We can have a blocker here. Squee. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, we were dead whatever we did there. Sure. Well, they have to attack with everything. Or at least a large number of their guys, right? They just attack with everything. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, we're still dead, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, we take 4 here. Yeah, we are still dead. So, what do we do in this matchup to deal with all the goblins? Well, these can kill some of the scary things. I guess Mindbreak Trap is okay for some of the combo, but not necessarily that much. Thoughtseize is something that can pick apart, like, the one thing that makes their hand stick. Because the problem with these combo-y goblin decks, in my opinion, the one with the new Lord in, is that they don't have a great wealth of things. So if you pick off like the one specific thing that you're worried about, then you can really get them. So maybe we're like cutting these. They're going to have Furies, so I think we need the Thoughtseizers to deal with Furies. We like getting rid of Birchlaw. That's kind of the weakest mana generating guy. Don't think we can get rid of a Crater Hoof here, can we? Kind of need them both. Maybe we can trim one and just hope we don't draw the Crater Hoof, maybe. And then the 1-2 is great. Maybe we're bidding off a Ranger. Replace it with 1-drops. Again, I'm not 100% sure what I'm doing with the sideboarding. I'm just making an educated guess as best I can. But I think I want these cards in. So we're going to put these cards in. So our opening hand is a little bit weak to Wasteland. But I think we play out... Oh, it's tricky. We play out the Reclaimer. Oh, that's a one-lander again. I don't know if we can keep the one-landers like this. If we draw a land, then turn 2 is pretty good. We can spell out a bunch of our hand. And we have the natural... I think we keep it and trust in the deck here. Maybe that's an error. So the question is, do we play into Wasteland or not? Because we want to cast this Thoughtseize on the next turn. I think we can't just afford to lose the game on turn 1. I think we have to just get a Forest here. And play out Elvish Reclaimer. Because this blocks really effectively. Again, this might be wrong, I'm not sure. So there's no Wasteland. Is this going to be a Lackey? Sure. So we bricked on land this turn as well. So I think we play a 2-2 as well. So if they have a Lord, we can at least trade with the Lackey. I don't think we want to attack here in case they have Munitions Expert and they can kill one of our blockers. I think the way we lose this game in the immediate future is Muxus. Pyrokinesis. Yeah. Not much I can do about that one. If they got the Muxus here, I think we just lose. I think we're living in well with Pyrokinesis, and Fury means that, yeah, they got the Muxus. Sure. Sometimes your opponent will have it all. So I don't think there's many hands I could have had that could deal with Lackey turn 1, Pyrokinesis, Muxus turn 2. And they did have a Wasteland as well. I think we're just dead here. So I don't think it's worth playing. I think we're just dead here. Yep, sometimes they get you, sometimes they don't. I could have had a slightly better hand. And I guess if I Thoughtseize turn 1 there and hit the Pyrokinesis and then untap and play out a blocker, maybe we're in a slightly better shape there. But they had a Wasteland, so if I play out a non-basic and they just Wasteland it, then I'm doomed. So I was not really in a great spot either way there. So I think we just go into the final round and just take our beats and carry on. So we're on the play for the final round, and our hand looks pretty good to me. We have Reclaimers, we have Symbiotes, we've got it already, so we're going to keep this. We've got the Green Sun Zenith. The question is what to play out first here. So the Wild Symbiote is always going to be the thing that eats the damage anyway, right? But I think we play out the Reclaimer here because it's the less telling of what my deck is, I think. If I play the Reclaimer out. Because I could be Green White Depths. I could change the way they play. They might approach the match slightly differently. Yes, they're going to bolt first thing I play. Straight up, good old-fashioned Lightning Bolt. Coming back to our turn. Oh no. A Lotus Petal. Lotus Petal and Lightning Bolt. Okay, so I think we play this out. This will become a Dryad Arbor. And we'll play out the Wild Symbiote this turn. What deck plays Lightning Bolt and Lotus Petal? Oh, it could be some sort of like prison-y deck that doesn't play Chalice, I guess. Which is not the worst for us, since Chalice is pretty good against lots of 1-drops if I don't have the Allosaurus guy. So in a turn we turn this into a Dryad Arbor. Which means we're not going to draw another Dryad Arbor. How good is Glimpse of Nature? This can draw us 1 card this turn. I guess that's fine. Or we can just play this out and just start Elvish Visionary chains. And then when we have more mana, we can do the chain with a Glimpse of Nature chucked in there, so get an extra card later along. So where is it? Visionary. Let's get a card. Let's hope it's a good one. Another Glimpse. So I guess next turn we can untap this and get some more mana. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 mana. So we get 1, 2, 3, 4. It's not great. I guess we see what we draw. If we draw a 1-drop, then we can certainly change things around a little bit. We need to get Elves in play and actually start being able to use our Heritage Druid. Be interested to see what comes of it. Like, we're expecting Fury out of this deck, right? So, Great Furnace. Oh, okay, so it's Painter. I see. I was a bit slow on the uptake there. Yeah, so this is the Painter's Servant deck. So the main deck Fury is not going to be spectacular for us here. So we save one of our creatures, but we lose that. And that's a hard cast Fury as well. Not going to be great when Favour the Mirrorbaker comes across. Good old Fury. Not the fairest of magic cards, to be honest. Let's have a look. So, what can we do this turn? We can just play out an Elvish Visionary and set up for a big turn next turn. I probably should have played that out first. I should have played out my visionary and then seen what we draw on in case that changes anything. Okay, it doesn't, but it's still the incorrect play there. So we have one turn before this Fable of the Mirror Breaker goes live. So next turn's got to be a big turn. So we're kind of hoping that the Heritage, Glimpse, Nettle, Sentinel plan can kick off and do the damage. It's going to take a boatload of damage this turn. If they've got a second Fury, then sure, we lose the game. Such is life. Painted Servant, sure. Have they got Grindstone? They just got it all here? So they have Pyroblast up, which is the issue here. So, I think we cast this Glimpse of Nature. Does this get Pyroblasted? And if so, how do we play around it? Sure. So we need to... Yeah, we got one more chance to resolve this Glimpse of Nature, I think. He's got a grip full of Pyroblasts. Jesus Christ. So if we play this guy first, they just Pyroblast the guy and then the spell. So it doesn't really get us anywhere. So yeah, we're just dead here. Our opponent had a pretty ridiculous draw, to be honest. Bleh. Alright, Painter. Force of Vigors. That's what we want. Collector Roof is what we want. The Leylines of the Void certainly have text because they're a welder deck. So you get rid of all the things to weld. Ways of removing their creatures. Ways of disrupting their hand is less good, I think, here. Like hitting the Fury is so important. It's just the problem we're in. We've got so many things we need to deal with. I don't think we can heavily board this much. Because they're a Fury matchup, I think we want the Progenitus. Maybe that's what that's for. I think the Endurance is probably going to be better than boarding in Ley Lines here. So what are we getting rid of? I guess the Once Upon a Times are less exciting here. We need to find 4 more cuts. Some of our guys are just going to get absolutely trounced by Fury in this matchup. I think this matchup looks pretty awful for us. Just trim on some of these cards. I'm going to need these guys. I guess maybe it's the Reclaimer that goes because they're a Blood Moon deck. Oh dear, it does take 2 points of a Fury to kill this. I don't think we're winning that way anyway. Alright, I think we submit like this and hope for the best. Pretty cold to Blood Moon. But... oh, I'm mad trying to keep this. So you can bounce an elf with a symbiote to untap stuff. We basically don't do anything on turn 1 here. We just play out the Arbor. And turn 2 we play our Nettle Sentinel, play this, tap 2 mana. I think we keep this. Maybe that's crazy. Well, we need to find a Heritage Druid, I think. I'm not sure how many turns we're going to get to be able to do this. But the red painted decks don't play Wasteland. They do play Blood Moon though. So we could just be cold to a turn 1 Blood Moon. It does shut off their own Heirs of Sagas, which is interesting. I should probably play the red painted deck on stream at some point. Do a video of those. Because it's one of the better combo decks in the format at the moment. Although right now I kind of wish that Fury didn't exist as a Magic the Gathering card. So we got here. So you got Grindstone with a floating mana. They got a Painted Servant. They just got turn 2 kill. No, they're just going to kill my land. Sure. So they had their one of Twin Shot Sniper. It's a little bit awkward for us. And now they can welder it in and out. I think we're ready to concede this one, right? Pretty miserable league, this one. Like, our opponent played 5 spells on turn 1. And now they can just... I guess we'll make them kill me. They'll probably... I'm surprised they didn't actually have, like, just a paint Grindstone to kill me that turn. Feels like it's been one of those days. Oh well. Not every league is going to be a good one, unfortunately. The mana on this deck has definitely felt worse than the mana on the last one I played. Guess we play this out so we don't have to go to discard. It doesn't do anything, unfortunately. Our opponent still does have to kill us eventually. So, yeah, that guy's a slow clock, but they can double welder it every turn. So it's bashing for 4 each turn. Which is going to make it difficult for us to stick any creatures. Another Cradle is pretty hilarious here. I think we can just concede here. Yep, so let's go to the deck, I suppose. Alright, so I would describe that league as pretty miserable, to be honest. We did get unlucky a little bit. I think like the goblin hand was pretty much the perfect goblin hand of Lackey, Pyrokinesis, straight into Muxus on turn 2. I didn't really have a lot of luck with, but I think the mana base, I'm not sure if it's the same mana base or not. Like, I kept boarding out Once Upon a Times. Maybe this deck can't afford to board out Once Upon a Times, because if it's in your opening hand, it's kind of like another land. So maybe I need to think about how I've sideboarded a bit more if I want to play the Elves again. I think the previous build I ran, which had the Lord in as well, felt a little bit more stable, weirdly. Even though I know a lot of people think the Lord's very bad. Yeah, not really much to say. The sideboard didn't feel particularly useful because it felt very difficult to work out what was coming in and how much you could trim and shave. So I was thinking, oh, I want all these cards, but if I overboard into like, these Thoughtseize, these Source of Vigors, all this stuff, then what am I going to have left? So it's certainly not an easy deck to play and sideboard with, I wouldn't say. I'm not convinced. Like, Glimpse of Nature is an interesting one because it's either a brilliant card or a dead card, and there's very little air in between. So I think if I were to play Elves again, I might try the Fiend Artisan builds, even though I'm not convinced they're amazing. They're certainly better against all these Pyrokinesis, Fury type things, and we certainly saw 2 Fury decks today, which is not really where I wanted to be. So I think the Fiend Artisan build might just be better because of where the metagame shifted now. I wasn't convinced, but this league is sort of maybe having just a bunch of X1s. Like, I guess you can dodge red matchups and things. Like, the matchups that weren't playing red cards were all right, really. Like, we beat the Depths deck. We did lose to Goblins, which is a bit unfortunate. We lost to the Painter deck, which I think looks like a pretty easy matchup for Painter decks, to be honest, because they have a relatively quick clock as well as powerful disruption, and they have the ability to just chain Fury with the backside of Fable, and if that ever happens, that's a hard lock on the game. So yeah, not a great one today, but plenty of things to learn from it, I think, for me at least. I made a few little errors here and there, and I think looking at how I was sideboarding, I could definitely do with sharpening that up a little bit. So maybe next time I'll try the Fiend Artisan build, because the sideboarding on that is more just like a value deck, so it makes more sense to me than a combo deck that people have been playing and perfecting for like a decade plus. So yeah, all right, that's the end of today's league. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're still here and still watching, please scroll down and hit the subscribe button. It doesn't cost you anything, and it really helps me out. I'm trying to get my subscribers up enough to get monetized by Christmas is the plan. So if you know anyone else who is interested in legacy content, tell them to subscribe as well, and it will really help me out so I can do some sort of weird and wacky leagues. I've got some pretty fruity decks planned. Going to have some really spicy ones in the not too distant future. And I'm recording this just before the bannings, potential bannings happen on Monday, so might shake things up quite a bit and be quite enjoyable to see what we can come out with after that. All right, that's it from me. So thank you for watching, and goodbye.